Hey, remodelers, it's raining where I'm at, and my experience when it rains, we have often, as a remodeler, you have some downtime, right? I thought I would put together a video that you can hopefully watch on your leisure, and it may assist you with your ability to acquire better clients, higher paying clients, all of that, right? So, when I say the word sales or selling or presenting, it triggers a lot of guys. They get frustrated. They have a lot of feelings about those words. The big thing I always hear is, I don't need to learn how to sell. My work sells itself, right? Uh, people just see how good my work is and they want to hire me. And that's awesome. And it should be that way. And you should also be able to communicate your value well, and you should also make sure that you know how to persuade and present right properly to benefit your business in the best possible way, right? The only way you're going to know more is to grow. All right. Now, what I have found at the end of the day, someone is always persuading somebody in every situation. So, for instance, as a remodeler, if you're meeting with a prospective client or homeowner, you are either helping them see the situation the way you see it, right? Hey, this is what we should do here. This is how much it's going to cost. Or they are helping you see the situation the way they see it. No, I think we should be getting this, this, and that, and you should only be making this much, right? So at the end of the day, somebody's persuading somebody. You may not like it, but that's the reality. The better you get at persuading, then the better it will be for your business, right? And we do that a couple different ways. First thing you have to do is make sure you have enough leads coming in so that you can properly weed through those leads. And here's what I mean. Just because somebody calls you doesn't mean that you should be working for them, right? I used to get a lot of phone calls, a lot of leads. Not every one of those people I would work for. Most of those people I could tell within a 10-minute phone conversation whether I would want to proceed to even see if they're a potential client or not fairly quickly. And then from the next step, whether it's doing some sort of a paid estimate one way or another, some sort of a site visit, every now and then I would then, after meeting them in person or being on site, then I would further determine we do not want to work with this person. This is not a good fit for us, right? And you part ways. Now, some remodelers, and I've experienced this myself, when you don't have enough lead flow, you get desperate and then you want to make every call turn into a job or client because you just don't have enough. And you're like, I need this job. I got to get this job. And now you're putting yourself in a horrible situation, right? Because now you're going to be willing to do things and take on things that you shouldn't. They're not in the best interest of your business, but because you're desperate and because you lack enough leads, you're now willing to sacrifice, and you'll take on a job. And people say it all the time. Well, I needed to stay busy, and so I did something I normally would never take on that job, but I did this time. And I've never discount, but I did this time. And the road to problems always starts with, I normally never would, but this time I did. So just remember that sometimes you are actually better off not working with someone and going fishing. And I know it may not be the best feeling to not have income for a day, but that then keeps you free to then go find the good client who you do want to work for, as opposed to starting to go work for a bad client, to where now the next 3 weeks or 3 months, you're locked into this horrible arrangement and it's a disaster for everyone. So sometimes you have to just trust that it's all going to work out if you're doing the right things, right? And if you only know how to get word of mouth work, then it makes it a whole lot harder. But if you understand how to do some marketing, and you understand how to then do proper advertising, and then you learn how to do good presentations and persuasion, right? And understanding clients and understanding their needs and finding a good fit and helping people, then it makes it a lot easier. Okay. So again, we want to make sure we have enough leads coming in, and then we want to make sure we have some sort of a system to weed these leads out. And when I say weed the lead, that means you have some sort of an intake form, a questionnaire. Anyone in the company can do this service for you. For me personally, I often had my admin office administrator. She would take incoming phone calls and she would pre-screen, right? Pre-qualify, ask the appropriate questions to determine whether this is someone that we should continue to engage and have a conversation with or not. Oftentimes, my office admin could tell right away, hey, actually, we're probably not the right company. Maybe you should call so and so or whatever. Like, get it out, get rid of the mess. We don't that's if they're not our type of client, stop wasting time, eliminate it as quick as possible. That way it frees up our bandwidth to only work with our ideal clients. And then that just sets us up for more success, because when I'm only working with my best clients, then the likelihood of those jobs turning out to where we make the appropriate profit that we need and then getting more good referrals and more similar type jobs, it just all compounds on itself. So if any of this is, sounding too foreign for you, just step back. You want to make sure you have a lot of leads coming in. From that, you want to make sure that you are filtering the leads that you work with. Only work with the ones that fit the right criteria. Okay, so now let's say you found the proper lead and you're getting ready to go out and meet with them. I would say this is where you want to understand basic sales, persuasion, communication, right? A lot of people give me a hard time at first and like, Mike, I'm anti-sales. I don't want to be salesy. Nobody wants to be salesy, all right? And a lot of people will give me an example. I don't want to be a used car salesman. And I'm like, well, if you have skills, you won't be, right? Those people that you're referring to are people that lack sales skills. They might be a salesperson because they have a sales position, but they're not what I would call a good salesperson, and they're not the way that I would recommend you come across. A good salesperson, almost, it doesn't even seem like a salesperson. They're almost like your friend. They're your advocate. They're a consultant. They're someone that you say, hey, I need help. Is this something you can help me with? Right? And then it's a matter of that person saying, yeah, let me understand your situation. Okay, now that I hear you say this and I hear you say that, yeah, we would be perfect fit. Oh, I've got a solution for you. How does this sound? We could do this. We could do that. Perfect. Right? That's being good at representing your business. And that's what a good sales person or presenter is capable of doing. So with all that being said, I have a little profit framework I would like to share with you guys real quick here. So think of this, the word profit, and this is for those of you that don't have extensive sales training. These are basics, but at the end of the day, you want to start right with a process of some sort. So the letter P stands for pinpoint. Here's what I mean. The first thing you always want to do with any service is you want to pinpoint this prospective client's problem, frustrations. Understand clearly what is the issue. Just because they say they need a new kitchen, that is not enough information. We want to understand what is it about the kitchen that's frustrating you, right? What do you mean by a new kitchen? Explain in full, right? Why do you need a new kitchen? Okay. What concerns or fears do you have about getting into this process of obtaining a new kitchen? So here's the thing. I always ask people, well, how come you haven't gotten it fixed already? How come you're calling me? Right? Like, just ask. Say, it sounds like you have a right. Once you ask a couple questions and the client says, yeah, I need a new kitchen. Well, the reason we need a new kitchen, this one's 20 years old and this is falling apart. That doesn't work. I've been here for a long time. I've been saving. I don't want this kitchen anymore. I've been dreaming about this and that kitchen. I just got a bonus at work, or my in-law just gave us an inheritance, or my mother-in-law is going to be moving in with us and she said she's going to pay for a new kitchen, or whatever. Find out all of these things, right? Find out, well, we wanted to hire someone and we thought we had them lined up, but then they got arrested, so now they can't do the job. Or we thought we were going to do it, but we've met with three other and everyone's price is too high, right? Well, what that tells me is you actually don't know what it should cost. You want too much, right? But I don't say that right away. But okay, so all the prices are too high. So are you, and then you can say to them, well, tell me, at the end of the day, are you just trying to find the cheapest kitchen, or do you really want nice things and you're trying to understand if you should really invest that much in your kitchen, right? The more you understand their situation, the better you can frame and ask good questions to get real answers. Okay. So, anyway, at the end of the day, we want to make sure we've clearly identified the problem. We want to make sure that we understand the client very well, right? And see what they think is a good solution and understand the fears that they have about the process. And good communication involves you making sure that you've heard them clearly, right? You repeat back to them some of the things that they've said and see if they're nodding their head in agreement and giving them a second to see if they want to add any more information. All right. So once we've done that part, then we move on to the second part of the stage, and that's the R, that's the reiterate, right? So the client has clearly identified the problem. We've identified the problem, right? Now, what is it that we all starting to see as a solution here, right? So we're going to make sure that we're very clear about what it is that they think they want. Okay. Oh, you're thinking you want an addition. Perfect. Okay. And have you thought about this or that? Have you, start asking some questions. See how far into the process they are. Oh, have you talked with a designer? You don't have a design. How? Why is it you don't have a design, right? Things like that. We want to understand. Have you ever done an addition before, right? Okay. What is your understanding of the time frame for an addition, the cost of an addition? You don't know how long it should take. You don't know how much it should cost. Okay. So you're looking for those answers from me. What have you found out from the other people you've talked to? If you ask a bunch of questions. Okay. So now we move on to the next step. We do what's called the outline, right? And we find out, well, what have you tried thus far that isn't really working out, right? Like, again, I'm trying to find out, well, have you contacted other people? Well, how come you didn't hire them? Right? Like, if I want something and I find someone that can offer it to me, I'm going to go forward and make the transaction, right? Like, recently I needed to get a laptop, MacBook, and I found someone, they had it, and so I bought it. I didn't then say to myself, well, he has it over here, but you know what? Maybe I could get something better and go over there. And, like some people do that. But for me, if I have an immediate need, I see that someone has something that I want and I want to purchase it. And like, let's move on, right? So you have to understand for them, what is their process? Is it really something they want solved? Or is it just something they're thinking about getting solved? What stage are they? All right. So then after that, right, once we have clearly understand what they've tried and why it hasn't worked for them, right? So for instance, maybe they have met with two contractors that they really liked, and neither of those contractors might have wanted the job. Maybe that happened. They might not say that. They might say, they're too busy, right? This is the best example. If you come across a job that you don't want, you can always just say, man, we would so love to help you out, but we're booked solid for the next year, right? I mean, some contractors, that's what they say. Instead of saying they don't want the job, right? They either price it really high or put it way out. Or sometimes they'll just tell people over the phone, yeah, we're swamped. I wouldn't be able to get out to you for like 2 more months to look at that job, right? And that's an easy way to let people off the hook. I've found the best way for us, when I come across a job I don't want, I just share with them, Mr. Miss Smith, I really appreciate you contacting us. We would love to be able to help you out. In this particular situation, based off of all the things that you've explained to me, we're actually not the best solution for you. And I then recommend, I say, here's what I'd like to do. I suggest that you contact so-and-so and so-and-so. They would be much better suited for this project than us, right? And just be straight with the person and let them know that you're not the right contractor. That's not the way, you don't do that type of work, or, whatever. All right. So part of that outline, again, is we want to make sure that we understand from the client what is the problem that they've experienced and what it's like for them to not be able to get this solved. You just want to poke a little bit that they're experiencing by not getting it done. For example, I had one client, they wanted a new remodel done. They were in the city. They had two houses, right? It was a couple, and the girl had decided that she wanted to move in with the boyfriend. They liked the boyfriend's house better, so they moved into there. So now the girlfriend has the house vacant. She wants to have somebody else move in and take over, but it needs a new kitchen before she can do that. So now she has an urgency, right? And this is her problem. She's like, Mike, we need to get that kitchen done as soon as possible because it is costing me money every month that it's not done. So then if I am interested in that job, I have to look at my calendar and schedule and see if we can fit that in an appropriate time frame, right? Because otherwise there's going to be problems and we have to outline that problem for her. Well, it sounds like what you need is a contractor that could get on the job right away. Is that correct? Yes, that is. Okay, so if we could do the job and we could get started for you right away, are you in a position where you can move forward right away? She goes, I am. So great. So then we can start putting together the paperwork, right? Like, you see how it works? Okay, so after the O of outline, we then move on to, obviously, the F. This is called focus, right? So now we want to focus the client back to their ultimate goal, i.e. the finished product. And here is where you shed enlightenment and explain how your company solves their problem the best, right? Mr. and Miss Smith, da-da-da, you wanted to do this, you want to do that, right? You've got this issue, you've got that issue. This is what it would be like working with us. We would be able to do the following, which could then it would solve this problem and that problem, and this could all be done for this sort of an investment, and here's why that's great, because you're getting all of this and all of that, and it's being done in this time frame, right? So now this is where you actually do what some people would call the pitch or the close. This is where you're presenting and you're doing your persuading. You're helping them understand why you are the savior, why you're the solution, you're their advocate. Everything about your solution is benefiting the homeowner, right? Perfect. All right. So once we've done that, then we move on to what's called illustrate. That is the letter I, right? And this is where you help them see it visually. Well, Mr. and Ms. Smith, can you see how our unique process will solve all of your challenges, right? So currently the kitchen is in this situation and this is wrong, that's wrong, you don't like this, you don't like that, that's broken, that's everything. And by hiring us and us doing this and doing that, can you now see how great this situation is going to be, right? So for the client that was needed a kitchen done right away, hey, we can do an expedited design process. We can order cabinets from this manufacturer and get them in 2 to 3 weeks, right? We can do this and that. We can expedite your permit through the city by hiring a permit expedition company, right? Blah, blah, blah. All these things we can do to help you solve your problem. Okay, does see how all that works out? And so you illustrate the problem for her. Okay, now, final step here is you tie it all together and you do this is where you gain the trust, right? You've helped the prospect see that you are a good fit, and now you're helping them find that they can trust that they are making a smart, correct, right decision. Homeowners today want to know that they are making the right decision, that they are smart, that they're educated, and that by choosing your company and your solution, that they will not look like fools. They will not be disappointed. They will not have to explain to all their neighbors why they don't have a kitchen in a year from now because they hired and made a bad decision and the contractor ran off with all their money. Right? That's what it comes down to. This is what I found amazing. Homeowners are more afraid of making a mistake than they are sometimes of just having it all work out. That's their motivating factor. That's what they're afraid of. They will often choose comfort and peace of mind. Now, they will, if they don't trust you and they don't understand how you can solve their problem perfectly, and they don't feel like there's something that they don't understand about your process and they have some reservations, that's when they start hitting for price. Because believe it or not, people will make stupid decisions when they think they're getting a good deal. People will buy absolute crap and junk all day long because it was a good deal. Look, people come back from flea markets all the time with piles and piles of stuff. Well, it was a good deal. I couldn't pass it up. Well, when are you going to use it? Never. Do you need it? Nah, but it was a good deal, right? So make sure that when you're dealing with homeowners that your service doesn't become the good deal. Stick with a fair price and help them find that they can trust you to do it right, and then you'll be able to charge that money. All right. So hopefully all of this is helpful. Love any feedback. If anyone has any questions, you can always let us know, and wish you the best. Enjoy the weekend.